I didn't know where they were taking me until the elevator kept going up, way past the floors where regular people lived, past security, past fear. When the doors opened, everything was glass and silence. A heartbeat monitor beeped like it was counting down to a funeral. There he was, Rodrigues Goncalves, the man people only whispered about, lying flat on a bed too clean to be safe, his chest twitching with every failing breath. 3 doctors surrounded him, whispering terms I barely caught. Toxin, organ collapse, neural failure. Nothing they were doing was working. Every second he slipped closer to death. Then they shoved me forward. "She's the waitress," someone said. "Last one to see him before the collapse." I nearly laughed. What did they think I was going to do? Refill his water? But then I saw the IV bag. The color was wrong, too pale. The base compound was mismatched. I'd seen that before, once, long ago, and I knew. "Stop that drip," I blurted. Everyone turned. One of the doctors squinted at me like I was a bug on his scalpel. "What?" "You're accelerating the toxin. You're killing him faster." The room stilled. Then a voice cut through, silk wrapped around a knife. Silvio Varela, the Don's underboss, hair perfect, eyes unreadable. He looked at me like he already knew my funeral arrangements. "And what," he said, "does a diner girl know about neurotoxins?" My heart pounded. I reached into my uniform, slow, careful, and pulled out the small glass vial I'd hidden for years, a murky, bitter liquid, the last dose of something I was never supposed to have. I know what this is. I know what it does. And I know it can stop what's killing him. The room shifted. The youngest doctor leaned in. "That's cordyline resin. Where the hell did you get this?" I met Silvio's eyes. My voice came out steady, but my legs were shaking. "I can save him, but if I do this, I walk out of here free. No one touches me, ever again." A long pause. Then Silvio smiled. Slow, dangerous. "Try it. Hey, if you're new here, welcome. You've just stepped into something dangerous, addictive, and very hard to walk away from. We're building something big here, a story, a family, and you're invited. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, because once you're in, you're in. And trust me, it only gets deeper from here. To all our returning viewers and loyal subscribers, thank you. You've been with us through every twist, every betrayal, every near-death heartbeat. Don't forget to drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. City, country, safe house. I want to know where this story's reaching. Let's see how far this family spreads. Now buckle up, as the begins, and it's going to get messy. I could barely hold the syringe steady. The glass vial clicked into place with a sound that felt way too loud. My hands were shaking, and I didn't have the luxury of pretending I wasn't terrified. Not here, not now. "Is this where I'm supposed to thank you?" Silvio asked smoothly behind me. "For your bravery." The needle hovered over Rodrigues's arm, just above the vein. "I'm not doing this for him," I said. I wasn't sure if I believed that or not. "Of course not," he replied, smiling with absolutely no humor. "You're doing it for your life, and I admire that." One of the doctors stepped forward. "We don't know the compound's interaction rate." "Let her do it," Silvio cut in. "She made her little demand. Let's see if she earns it." I pressed the plunger. The liquid vanished into his vein, and all we could do now was wait. Seconds passed. One monitor kept beeping at a slow, dragging pace. Another showed a jagged, inconsistent line. I kept my eyes on the blood pressure screen. The numbers were bad, still flat, still failing. I swallowed the rising panic. "You said this would help," the doctor hissed. I didn't answer. Then, beep. A single sharp sound broke the tension. Another beep, and then the pulse rate began to climb. It wasn't a miracle. It wasn't instant, but it was enough. Rodrigues' body stopped convulsing. His chest rose in a weak, human breath. His fingers twitched, barely, but I saw it. The doctor scrambled. Blood oxygen climbing, BP stabilizing. Reflex response in the right hand. He's responding. I let my arms fall to my sides. My knees wanted to give out, but I wouldn't let them. Not in front of him, not in front of any of them. I had saved him, and I had just made myself very valuable, or very dead. Silvio stood behind me, hands in his pockets, like he wasn't watching a man claw his way back from death. He leaned close to my ear. "So, little waitress," he whispered, "where exactly did you learn to counter rare neurotoxins?" I didn't look at him. "Family recipe," he chuckled. "You serve coffee with a side of antidotes?" I gave a thin smile. "Diner's off menu." He stepped in front of me now, blocking the bed, blocking the door. The charm in his voice didn't reach his eyes. "You don't seem stupid," he said, "which means you know what happens when you lie to someone like me." "I'm not lying," I said. "Then what's your angle?" "I want out." "Out of what?" I didn't answer. He studied me for a long time. His expression never changed, but I could feel it. He didn't buy my act, not one bit. "Still," he said, "for now, you live. Congratulations." The voice that interrupted him was barely more than a rasp. "Where?" Everyone froze. Rodrigues' lips moved again, slower this time. "Who's here?" His eyelids fluttered. A faint groan escaped his throat. The lead doctor turned, eyes wide. "He's regaining consciousness. Full neural function might still be compromised, but this is unexpected." Rodrigues' hand moved, twitching toward his chest, then dropping back. I couldn't breathe. Silvio's expression barely changed, but his eyes sharpened just for a second. Then, without turning to me, he said to the guards, "Put her in one of the side rooms, under watch. If she tries to run, shoot her in the leg. I want her alive, for now." They grabbed me by the arms. I didn't fight. I just watched the man I'd saved take another breath, shallow but alive, and I wondered if I'd just bought myself a future, or signed my own death warrant. The bed was softer than anything I'd ever slept on, which is probably why I didn't trust it. I woke up in silk sheets and hand-stitched linens, in a room that smelled faintly of lavender and money, high ceilings, cream-colored walls, gold fixtures, the kind of place where rich people pretended to be humble. My wrists were free, but the door was locked. The windows didn't open. The furniture was bolted down. There were no sharp edges on anything, no glass, just polished chrome and cameras in the corners, no phone, no call button, and my clothes were gone. In their place, a soft navy blue blouse, black slacks, a pair of flat shoes that fit too well. Nothing overtly threatening, but carefully chosen. No strings, no tools, no identity. Someone wanted me comfortable, but not free. The first knock came an hour later. He walked in without waiting. Mid-30s, built like a boxer, but dressed like an accountant. Quiet eyes, tight grip on the food tray. "Breakfast," he said. I sat up, cautious. He set the tray on the side table. Eggs, toast, fruit, coffee, everything hot, everything untouched. "You gonna poison me too?" I asked. He looked at me for a moment, then, "If I were, I wouldn't tell you." I cracked a smile despite myself. "Name's Mateo," he added. "I work for the Don." "You mean Silvio?" His expression didn't change. I said the Don. Right. Subtle correction. Loyal then. Or trying to seem like it. He didn't sit, didn't linger. But as he turned to go, he asked casually, "That vial yesterday, you always carry poison cures to the dinner shift?" "Only when the specials are deadly." He cracked half a smile. "Funny." Then he left. The tray stayed. The lock clicked behind him. That afternoon I heard the whisper. It came through the vent. Low voices. Male. I moved silently to the grate, crouched down. "I said move her tonight," one voice hissed. "Silvio. She's too exposed here. The old man wakes up, starts asking questions. She opens her mouth. We've got a problem." Another man mumbled something I couldn't hear. Silvio again. Rodrigues gave no direct order. If he dies, he doesn't get to contradict me. I froze. If, not when. If. They weren't just hedging their bets. They were planning something. That night, I didn't sleep. Instead, I studied. 2 guards rotated every 4 hours. One stayed near the door, the other out of sight. Probably armed, probably bored. The cameras didn't pan or click, which meant they were live-fed or one-way monitoring. I wasn't sure which was worse. I pulled a spoon from the breakfast tray, dulled it against the metal bed frame until it became just slightly dangerous. Not enough to kill, but enough to make someone bleed if I got desperate. And I memorized every inch of that room, every pattern, every sound, every time the elevator dinged on this floor. Because I wasn't just in a prison. I was in a cage made of silk, and no one builds a cage that fancy unless they plan to keep the animal forever or sell it to the highest bidder. I wasn't expecting a knock at 3 a.m. Mateo entered quietly, holding a clipboard and a deep frown. His eyes, usually unreadable, were tense tonight. "He's stable," he said, "but not for long." I pulled on my jacket. What happened? The first dose worked, temporarily. The toxin slow-acting, progressive. "You said you had more?" "No," I replied. "I had one. I'll have to make the rest." His eyes narrowed. "You can replicate it?" I nodded. "But I need time. And I need to go out." He hesitated. "Silvio won't like it." "Then tell him this. He can bury the Don in a week, or give me 6 hours and 2 guards." They gave me 3 guards. None of them talked. We drove in an armored SUV through back streets I used to walk barefoot. The city looked different through bulletproof glass. Colder. Like it forgot who I was. We stopped in the old quarter, where English signs vanished, and the shops were older than the streetlights. I guided them to a narrow alley that stank of spice, rot, and rain. The stall was still there. Nunez Botanicals. Hand-painted signs. No cash register. Just glass jars and an old man who never forgot a face. "Savannah Burwell," he muttered, not looking up. "Still in trouble?" "Always," I said. I handed him a crumpled list. He scanned it. 5 of these are illegal," he said. "Only if you sell them wrong." He grunted and shuffled into the back. While I waited, one of the guards lingered too close to the stall. He reached behind a shelf. "Don't touch anything," I snapped. He pulled his hand back too slowly, and that's when I saw it. The wrong jar in the wrong place. The root was supposed to be blood-dry with yellow rings, not soft and full of juice. They'd swapped it. I picked up the jar and turned slowly toward the guard. "You sure this is the one you grabbed?" He blinked. "Looks right to me." "No, it doesn't," I said, loudly. "This is red root kratha. I asked for cordyline. This will clot the blood and stop his heart in 10 minutes. The vendor peeked over his spectacles. 3 other vendors turned to look. "You trying to kill the Don again?" I asked, louder. People started whispering. The guard paled. I didn't." I handed the jar back to the vendor. "Get it yourself and seal it. In front of me." He did. The crowd dispersed slowly, but the moment stayed. Back in the SUV, I held the correct jar in my lap like a trophy. Silvio didn't meet me when we returned, but I knew he'd hear about it. I made sure of it. Before Mateo turned to go, I said, "Tell him something for me." He waited. I looked out the tinted window at the city lights and said, "I saw the switch. I fixed it. I'm not stupid." Mateo raised an eyebrow. "Is that a threat?" "No," I said. "That's a reminder." Then I stepped out of the car holding the antidote close and walked back into the cage with silk sheets. For now, I still had time, but I'd just proven something dangerous. I wasn't the easiest thing to kill. They brought me to him just after sunrise. The hallway to his private bedroom was silent, too silent. 2 guards flanked the door, but they stepped aside without a word when I arrived. Inside, Rodrigues was awake. He sat propped against a pile of snow-white pillows, dressed in a loose black robe, an oxygen line taped beneath his nose, tubes still threaded into the veins in his hands. His face was pale, but his eyes, His eyes were sharp. He looked at me like I was already guilty of something. The doctors stood to one side, mumbling vitals and recovery estimates. Rodrigues didn't look at them. He raised one hand, barely, and they fell silent. Then, in a gravel-edged whisper, he said, "Leave us." When the door closed, the room felt 10 degrees colder. Rodrigues blinked slowly, taking me in. My clothes, my stance. He wasn't interested in pleasantries. "You kept me alive," he rasped. I nodded. "That wasn't charity," he added. "No," I said. "It wasn't." He looked down at his arm. The spot where I'd injected the cure was a small yellow bruise. "That antidote, you made it?" "I knew how to make it," I said. "I didn't invent it." His gaze didn't waver. "And how did a waitress come to know something like that?" I let the silence stretch. "I served more than food once," I said eventually. "My family worked with certain clients, old clients, dangerous ones." "You know what was in my blood?" "I have a theory." "What theory?" I smiled faintly. "That someone close to you wanted you out of the way, but didn't want to get their hands dirty." His fingers tapped once against the blanket, a slow rhythm. "Silvio thinks you're dangerous," he murmured. "Silvio tried to kill you," I murmured back. That made him smile, just slightly. The door opened. Silvio stepped inside without knocking. If Rodrigues was surprised, he didn't show it. "Apologies, Don," Silvio said smoothly. "I heard you were awake. I thought you might need an update." Rodrigues' expression went blank. "I was having a conversation." "With her?" Silvio smiled, but there was something behind his eyes now, something cold. "She's not under guard anymore?" he asked casually. "She's not my prisoner," Rodrigues said, voice like sandpaper. Silvio tilted his head. "No, but she is an unknown. Dangerous, perhaps." Rodrigues didn't answer, just looked back at me. I didn't move, didn't speak. I could feel both of them watching me now, but for different reasons. Silvio didn't like that I was still standing. Rodrigues hadn't yet decided what I was. When I turned to go, Rodrigues stopped me with a single word. "Savannah." I paused. He looked at me for a long moment, not with warmth, with calculation. "If someone inside did this," he said softly, "I'll need someone who sees what others don't." I gave him a careful look. "And what makes you think I see anything?" His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Because you're still alive." I nodded once. Then I walked out the door, feeling Silvio's stare burning into my back and Rodrigues' words still echoing in my mind. I was supposed to be a witness, a disposable one. But now I was something else. And if I played it right, I might live long enough to figure out what. The lab smelled like alcohol and quiet fear. Rodrigues' private doctor, Dr. Leonetti, stood a few feet away, pretending not to hover while I prepared the second dose. His gloved hands were clasped behind his back, but I could feel his eyes flick to every movement I made. The antidote wasn't complicated if you knew what you were doing. Heat the root just past boiling. Let it cool. Bind it to a mineral stabilizer. It was all timing and instinct, like waiting tables if the tip was someone's life. They'd cleared the space for me in a private back room near the penthouse kitchen. Clean counters, locked cabinets, no phone, of course, but a small digital scale and a tray of sealed herbal jars. One of them had my name on it, literally, scrawled in black marker on the lid, Burwell. I paused. Leonetti didn't notice. I popped the lid, and inside, beneath the dried root, something else rattled. At first glance, it looked like trash. Just a folded scrap of old paper, wedged at the bottom of the jar, yellowed, fraying at the edges. I didn't touch it right away. I glanced up, carefully stirring the liquid in the beaker with one hand, then used my other to slip the paper under the prep tray. No one noticed. When Leonetti stepped out to grab a new vial of stabilizer, I unfolded the paper just enough to glimpse what was inside. Letters, symbols, a broken pattern. My heart stuttered. I knew this style. My father used to write his private formulas in codes like this, shorthand ciphers based on medicinal compounds, Latin roots, and biblical verses. It was a weird, secret language, one I hadn't seen in years, but I recognized one symbol immediately, a single black star with a circle around it. I'd seen it before, engraved on Silvio Varela's ring. I didn't decode the full note then. I didn't need to. The symbol was enough. Someone had hidden this where I'd find it, buried in a jar marked with my name, using my family's cipher. Someone was trying to tell me that Silvio wasn't just the would-be heir. He was tied to the poison, and maybe more. Leonetti came back into the room. I palmed the paper, slid it inside my waistband beneath my blouse, and kept stirring the beaker. "Is it ready?" he asked. "Almost." My voice was calm. My hands weren't. I was holding something more dangerous than the antidote now. I was holding a secret with a target painted on it. Later that evening, just before I could return to my room, Silvio showed up. He walked into the prep room like he owned it, wearing that same perfect suit and that same amused smile that made my skin crawl. "Heard you've been working miracles again," he said. I turned slowly. "Just science." He glanced at the tray, then at me. "Did you find everything you needed?" "Mostly." He stepped closer, slowly circling the table. "Funny thing about herbs," he said, picking up a vial and inspecting it. "They grow from dirt, so easy to contaminate, so easy to mislabel." I smiled with my mouth. Luckily, I read labels. Silvio looked me dead in the eye. "I'm sure you read all sorts of things." The air between us stretched. Then he put the vial down, nodded once, and walked out. I exhaled, slow and steady. He didn't know what I'd found, but someone had left me a message, and I had a feeling I was the only person in this entire place who could read it. The note burned against my skin all day. Back in the privacy of my room, I took it out, unfolded it again under the soft glow of the reading lamp, and started decoding it, line by line. Most of it was a mess. Partial phrases, medical notations, old formulas crossed with obscure references. But then I found it. Black Star belongs to the left hand, blood in the detail. Guard with blue thread. He listens to the wrong man. It didn't make sense. Not all of it, but enough. There was a mole inside the Don's own security. Someone with a patch of blue thread. Someone watching me. A tap at the door made me flinch. It was Matteo. "You're needed upstairs," he said. Routine. He didn't meet my eyes. My heart thudded, slow and heavy. It started as I stepped off the elevator. The lights flickered once, then again, and then they died completely. Emergency lights kicked on, a sickly yellow-red glow along the baseboards. A sharp alarm rang from somewhere inside the penthouse. Voices shouted down the hall, "Get a doctor! He's crashing again!" I broke into a run, or tried to. A man in scrubs turned the corner fast, face half-shadowed, hair tucked under a surgical cap. "You, Savannah, come with me. He's seizing again." He grabbed my wrist. Something was off. He was strong. Too strong. And his grip didn't feel like panic. It felt like intent. I yanked back. "Where's Leonetti?" "He's already with him," the man snapped. "Move!" His hand was already sliding towards something at his belt. I didn't wait. I moved faster. I jammed my hand into my pocket and yanked out the sharpened stir rod I'd kept since the lab, a sliver of glass hidden just in case. It hit his shoulder. Clean. Not deep, but enough. He shouted. That was the only reason I heard the footsteps coming. Matteo. He rounded the corner and saw everything in one blink. Bang. The attacker hit the wall before he hit the floor. Blood sprayed across the tiles. Matteo didn't say a word. He just looked at me, eyes hard, and nodded once. He knew. We both knew. That wasn't a rogue hit. That was sanctioned. And it wasn't meant for Rodrigues. It was for me. The power came back within seconds. So did the color in the hallway. Rodrigues' door opened slowly, and his personal physician stepped out. Calm, unfazed. False alarm, he said, heart rate stable, no crisis. Silvio appeared behind him a moment later, dressed too neatly for the moment, concern plastered across his face like makeup. "What's going on?" he asked. No one answered. Matteo holstered his weapon. I stood in the center of it all, blood on my sleeve, hand shaking slightly. Silvio's eyes found mine. He didn't even flinch, but he knew I'd survived. Again. And Rodrigues? He was watching from his bed, propped up now, one hand clutching the edge of the blanket. His jaw was tight. His eyes met mine, and though he didn't speak, I saw it clearly for the first time. He believed me. The guards didn't say a word when they came to get me. Rodrigues had sent for me. This time, no doctor hovered in the corner, no Silvio lurking near the wall, just the Don, sitting upright in a sleek leather chair near the window, robe wrapped around him like armor. He looked alert, more than before, still pale, still fragile, but his eyes were focused now, intent. I stood a few feet away, silent. "You've been clever," he said quietly, "but clever only gets you so far." I didn't speak. He turned toward me, folding his hands. "I know what Silvio is doing. I've known for some time, but suspicion doesn't win wars." "And proof does?" "No," he said. "Proof is for the law. I need spectacle." He leaned forward slightly. "I want to trap him." He laid it out with careful precision. "We let them think the antidote is failing," Rodrigues said. "Let the numbers drop. Let the panic build. He'll act. He has to. He's already overplayed his hand with you." "And when he moves?" Rodrigues smiled faintly. "Then I stand up." He wasn't joking. He wanted me to stagger the dosage, time it so his vitals dipped but didn't crash. Let the blood pressure drop. Let the doctors start whispering again. "You want me to fake your death." "Near death," he corrected. "Just enough to make him greedy." I crossed my arms. "You trust me to do this?" He studied me. "I trust you not to die before I do." That one was fair. The next 48 hours were tense. I altered the schedule, thinned the dose, monitored the signs, and the changes came fast. Rodrigues' color faded again. His speech slowed. The monitors started to dip. Not crash, but dip enough to spark talk. People began circling. One capo, Gallo, cornered me near the kitchen hallway. "Is he dying?" he hissed. "Tell me now." "The treatment's unpredictable," I said, as calmly as I could. "The poison was advanced." "That's not an answer. It's the only one you'll get." He left angry, but the rumor was already moving. By the end of the third day, the whispers were everywhere. Rodrigues is fading. Savannah failed. The throne's open. Silvio began hosting consultations, meetings, private calls, too many to be coincidence. And then Rodrigues collapsed again. It was choreographed perfectly. Mid-conversation, he slumped. The machines beeped wildly. The doctors rushed in. Silvio stood back, hands folded, face calm, but I saw it. The flash in his eyes, the hunger. I locked eyes with Rodrigues, just a flicker, just a second. He was still in there, alive, waiting, and I was the only one who knew it. The trap was set. They dressed me like I mattered. Black dress, modest neckline, hair pinned, not a weapon on me, at least not the kind anyone could see. Matteo stood outside the conference doors. He didn't speak as he opened them. Inside, 12 chairs circled a black marble table. The air was heavy with polished wood, aftershave, and quiet violence. Men who ruled districts with a glance. The real shadow government of the city, and none of them looked surprised that Rodrigues hadn't shown up. Silvio stood at the head of the table, dressed like morning royalty, crisp gray suit, black tie. He looked appropriately solemn. "My brothers," he began, "we all know why we're here." No one interrupted. "The Don's condition has worsened. As of this morning, he is unresponsive. A ventilator breathes for him. The doctors say recovery is unlikely." I stayed silent, eyes forward, watching the trap coil tighter. He built this empire, Silvio continued. But if we delay, we risk war, chaos, external threats. I propose that, until his passing, the family needs an acting voice. He let the pause settle like dust. And I am willing to carry that burden. There was murmured agreement, not full-throated, but enough. A few capos nodded. One reached for a pen, already marking notes. Silvio turned just slightly, just enough to make sure I saw the small smile twitch at the edge of his mouth. Matteo still hadn't moved, and I knew the cue was coming. It started with the sound of a cane tapping the marble floor. Then the door opened, and Rodrigues Goncalves walked in. Alive, upright, pale, yes, but radiating something colder than health. Intent. The room inhaled. The capo nearest the door stood instinctively. Don Goncalves, Rodrigues, didn't sit. He stood at the opposite end of the table from Silvio, both hands on the chair back, and looked each man in the eye. I built this empire, he said. I buried its enemies. I bled for it. He looked at Silvio. And I do not share power. Silvio didn't blink. This is a mistake, he said softly. You're not well. You don't know what's been happening. I know exactly what's been happening, Rodrigues interrupted. He turned slightly. Savannah. That was my cue. I stepped forward slowly and unpinned the folded paper I'd hidden in the lining of my dress. This note, I said, was found hidden in an herb jar, marked for me. It's encoded in an old cipher known only to certain families, mine included. I looked at Silvio. It points to a compound known as Agent M47, the same that nearly killed Rodrigues. Silvio rolled his eyes. You expect them to believe... I expect them to recognize this. I pointed to the symbol drawn at the bottom of the page, the black star with a circle. Your ring, your seal, your orders. Someone gasped. Another stood slowly. Silvio's hand moved, too fast. A pistol emerged from beneath his jacket. Matteo stepped forward, gun already drawn. Bang! Silvio's shot missed Rodrigues by inches. Bang, bang. Matteo didn't miss. Silvio collapsed against the edge of the table, blood spreading beneath his head like a shadow finally catching him. Silence. Then Rodrigues sat. Clean this up, he said coldly. We have real business to attend to. Silvio's body was gone before the hour ended. The blood was scrubbed from the marble, the guards replaced, the room disinfected like nothing had ever happened, but everyone knew. Rodrigues held a quiet meeting with the capos that night. No grand declarations, just a sentence. This family belongs to me again. No one challenged him. I watched from a corner of the room, a glass of untouched water in my hand, waiting for someone to remember I didn't belong. No one did. He summoned me the next morning, no guards this time, just Matteo at the door, silent as always. Inside, Rodrigues sat behind a long glass desk with a city skyline behind him. He looked stronger, sharper. No oxygen line now, no weakness. He gestured for me to sit. You kept your word, he said. You saved me. I nodded. You kept yours. I'm still breathing. His mouth twitched into the ghost of a smile. You're free to go, he said. No one will follow you. No one will touch you. It should have been enough. But he wasn't finished. I could use someone like you. I blinked. He leaned back, studying me. Not a soldier, not a spy. Something else. Someone who sees from the outside in. No oath, no blood tie, just clarity. And trust? I asked carefully. He didn't answer. Not with words. Just pushed a black envelope across the desk. Inside, a clean passport, a set of bank codes, and a key. No, name, just opportunity. I'm offering you a different kind of life, he said. Not safe, but powerful. That night, I walked. No guards, no shadow behind me. Just my own heartbeat, echoing off alley walls and traffic. I stood at the edge of the city, Same street where I used to run deliveries, where I used to beg for tips, where I tried more than once to vanish. The key was cold in my pocket. I could run. This time, no one would follow. But that's not what I did, because something had changed. Not the city. Me. The elevator dinged just after sunrise. Mateo was waiting. He didn't ask questions. Inside, Rodrigues sat at the table, not behind the desk, but in front of 2 glasses. Coffee. No guards. No tension. He didn't smile, but he poured. I sat, not across from him, beside. They dragged me in here in cuffs, a runaway, a waitress, a liability. Now I walk these halls without guards, without permission. Rodrigues Goncalves owes me his life. His empire knows who I am. And the people who once owned this world, they don't look at me anymore. They look over their shoulders. I didn't just survive the family, I became part of it.